Live. Welcome to the Cold Brew Truth. Why do we always say it like that?
I don't know.
What we do.
The Cold Brew Truth cocktail show. Just kidding.
Where none of us drink cocktails.
We can drink a mocktail.
We just put on a show. Whoa.
What's it called? A mocktail?
Mocktail, yeah, the fake drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh, really? What's our topic for today? Or the theme? Do you remember?
We were talking about, what were we talking about?
Let's see if you remember the theme.
I do.
I'll give you a hint. It is a Bible verse. I don't know if that's going to help you, actually.
I feel like this angle might work better. Don't look at our mess.
Yeah, we're a little messy today.
Was it to do with trusting in the process?
Kind of.
Okay.
The way, the truth, and the life. Because I am such a bad singer. Sorry, guys. But, talking about following the way, speaking truth, and that's the only way to truly live life. Honestly. And to the fullest.
Oh, I remember now.
Yes.
Yeah, because we were talking about living by our moral compasses, and when you're just not morally living by the compass that you've set for yourself, and then that's when the whole hard part comes, because then you have to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I don't like that part.
She's practicing.
I'm practicing being accountable for myself.
It's a really...
Pebble Beach, let's go!
It's a really
Pebble Beach.
hard thing to actually like get yourself in the system of doing. I've already been on this process and journey now of showing up for myself basically for the last 2 years, I'm gonna say. And what I mean by that, not saying that you don't or you haven't,
Right.
It's like when you get going through life and you're just kind of going along, beating along, especially as we've talked about, like coming from childhood to then going into your 20s. And then in your 30s, it's like you kind of like get this like smack to the face awakening.
Well, I think too, children of trauma, like traumatic, or have been through like not an easy life, you learn to tuck your head down, and then you get to, I think you just naturally, you get to an age to where your head can no longer be tucked down and you can't continue to use your coping mechanisms, maybe is a good word, that you've always been able to utilize.
Your traditional mode of apparatus.
Yeah, whether it be your health is no longer like sustaining the stress or something, it's going to come out in whatever ways. It comes out in so many crazy ways.
Yes. But like you said, kind of having your head down, sometimes you get to the point where it's like life brings you back up for air. And then something happens where it kind of like draws you to a new truth, a new light. And then once you kind of see that, and you're enlightened to it, or
that's when not ignorance, I guess wouldn't be the word I'm looking for, but when you are then aware of the problem and you don't do anything about it, that's where I guess it would be ignorance to the fact that.
And not always is it really even a problem. It's just like at some point you decide that like you want more for yourself. You want better. And that also goes back to like what you were always used to in your life, and that can be a lot of different things, and what you accepted, what you tolerated. You may not have honestly known better until you've learned, because that's the whole point of growing up, is you learn, you grow, you adapt, you change, all of these things. And especially being entrepreneurs ourselves, you don't really stay stagnant. Like they teach you not to become stagnant.
It's like the book I started. It was literally talking about what they tell us all the time is if you're uncomfortable, it means you're in the room of growth.
Yep.
If you're comfortable and things are going great, then you're not growing.
And not
that's not bad. Some people they get to where they've worked so hard to be at, to the where like, sweet, I'm going to take a breath for a moment. I'm going to be comfortable because this is where I've worked to be at.
Yep.
But if you're in the position...
You're pausing moments, which are good.
But if you're in the position where you are needing the growth and you wanting to expand and excel and learn and do better and be more,
geriatric, don't run me off the road.
That's when you want to become uncomfortable. And then being uncomfortable is typically because, you're following your compass.
Yep. And being uncomfortable isn't like, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not comfy. Like, it pushes you, it challenges you both mentally, physically, spiritually, all of the things. And like, it's like a workout. Like, when you're trying to gain weight or even lose weight, either way, like, you're pushing yourself in some way, shape, or form beyond the limits of what your body knows and even what your mind, thinks. And like, you have to force yourself essentially to be uncomfortable, to get uncomfortable. But in that uncomfortableness, you also are accepting reality that in that uncomfortableness and in that pain that's temporary, something greater, something better is going to come on the other side of it. And that's why you choose to do it. So
you just have to be, well, I think this is where your faith comes in too, because you can't necessarily always see what's on the other side that you're working so hard for.
Yeah.
That's where the faith part comes in.
And that's why, like, funny enough, that's also a Bible verse, obviously, is the way, the truth, and the life. And like, not to be all preachy, but that's what Jesus like literally taught. And before he basically died,
what was the verse?
That Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And when you follow him, that's what's going to lead you to true life. And
okay.
The actual verse, though, I think is John 14:6. Don't quote me on that. I will tell you. I was right. John 14, verse 6. And Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So that's it was funny because that's what prompted my thought of today, of like, that's so applicable even to our life, of like, we live in a society in a time where it's like people are recreating truth, and people have become comfortable, I guess, in staying silent and not standing up for truth, not standing up for what's right. And I watched this thing actually about this professional skateboarder that got caught in a situation herself where she was competing in a girls' division, obviously, for different tournaments and stuff like that. And what happened? Well, what's happening kind of everywhere that we're seeing. We see...
Was there a boy?
People identifying as women.
Oh. Was he a boy?
Yeah.
Was it a boy?
Yeah.
Normally?
Yep. It was a boy who then identified as a woman, who came in to compete and then totally
demolished.
Yep. This.
Of course they're gonna beat us. They're literally.
They're biologically.
Like, you're scientifically
bigger,
made to
stronger,
be that way.
All the things. Like, we don't need to like explain science when it's the obvious common sense. We already know this, but it goes back to like people speaking up for that, and it's nothing about like not including, but it's like, no, this is separation of your claiming something as truth that's not a truth. Like, you're not a female, you don't have a place, you don't have a position here. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but why does everybody else have to be silent, and why does everybody else have to become so uncomfortable that then they're missing out because of one or a few, a handful of few? Like, that's where again it goes back to like, that's not the truth. Maybe
they're going into the uncomfortable to push their limits. That's why they're now into the girls' realm.
Say that one more time. What?
I was just giggling, more or less, like the theory of like, you have to be uncomfortable to grow and you have growth in your life. Maybe they're just putting themselves in an uncomfortable situation in hopes that it grows.
But they're not uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable where they were at, which is why they're changing to try to
be something different.
Yes. But again, like, that still doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it right. And I, for one, especially having a daughter and being a female myself, like...
Are you?
Yeah. Definitely am. I would not be okay with that. Like, I would not be the silent type. I'm not that silent person. I am one who speaks up, even when it is super uncomfortable to do. And I sometimes speak up for other people and on their behalf. In fact, prime example, this last weekend, having a conversation with my parents being in town, I was talking about something and advocating for something that I know is similar of opinion amongst multiples, but those other people aren't necessarily willing to have that uncomfortable conversation where I am. because when something's not right and it's blatant as day that it's not right, I cannot live with my own self morally to sit there and stay silent and accept something when I'm like, no, something needs to be said, something needs to change, something needs to be done differently, because when this keeps taking place over and over and over again and it's not changing, like, that's not okay. Like, not okay at all. So going back to the moral compass, like you were talking about as well, like, there does come a point where you reach in your life where you are going to challenge yourself a lot and regularly, and you're going to feel secluded. You're going to feel like you're on an island almost, because you're toying between, what am I supposed to do? And I don't want to upset people, and I don't want to offend people, and this and that and the other. But then it's like, well, then who are you also offending? What else are you teaching?
Yourself,
like,
your brain.
You're not even showing up for yourself. You're not standing up for yourself. And that's also where it's not okay. Like, and it goes back to being willing to desert yourself essentially sometimes for what may seem like a really long time, but in all actuality, in the big picture, sometimes it's not that long at all. But sometimes it is required to face things kind of in the desert or be alone, to speak the truth, to have a better life. Yes. You know. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's hard for people to be held accountable when
it's hard to be held accountable?
I think people have a hard time in the, like, grand scheme of it. When you're talking about it, it's a lot easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot easier from an outsider's perspective to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know better. Why are you doing this? But when you're in the turmoil of it, it's hard to see the clarity. But then once you do see the clarity of knowing the truth and being able to stick to your compass, that's where people either go one way or another.
I would agree with that. Actually, I think that's also, again, like, kind of how and why our world is kind of so divided, because some people are more inclined to not stick to the way, if you will, because it's so much easier to just go along instead of standing out. People don't always like to stand out necessarily.
That's true.
Like, and some people don't like that attention, even, you know, it's not like it's a positive or even a negative. They just don't like that spotlight, or they don't like those conversations.
Having eyes on them if they're the ones that are pointing the finger. Hey, yo! Yeah. I'm not too big of a hey you-er.
And that's not a bad thing,
not
though.
To be a hey you-er. Yeah, I got tired all of a sudden. I need my afternoon nap, I feel like.
But again, I think we're getting to that point in life where it's like, we're gonna need more hey youers and people that do speak up, especially us that are parents, because our kids are going to be the ones who start to feel that if we don't. And
well, so they're the ones watching for sure.
Well, yeah, and if we're not willing to speak up now and advocate, then at some point, like, we're basically saying, like, it's fine, our kids are going to get it. Like, they'll handle it. They'll take care of it. And that's kind of passing the buck off to somebody else. And again, I don't really believe in doing that either. Like, that's, in my opinion, kind of a lazy approach.
Well, it's
like,
complacency as well, and then it teaches them complacency. And if they've become complacent, then what are we all doing here?
Well, and how do we think our kids, you know, or even our coworkers or our friends are supposed to learn or even feel kind of enlightened or even like inspired to do those hard things, to show up for themselves, to speak up for themselves, whatever it may be. We can't expect that from somebody else if we're not willing to do it ourselves. You know, it all, like I always say, it really does start back with yourself. Like, who do you want to be? Who you were in the past, like, yes, that's obviously taught you a lot to get to where you're at now. But if that still isn't who you want to be, you got to focus on who it is that you want to be and how are you going to get there. And And the way that you're going to do that is by showing up for yourself, speaking up for yourself. Like, be willing to be that person who gets a little uncomfortable. But I can guarantee you, when you do, the amount of responses that you get in return from people that support you or thank you for saying that, thank you for speaking up, whatever
comes
it may
from
be.
it than you would ever anticipate.
It's insane, and it's so wild to see, and it kind of like, it's that, you know, what you put out there, you get back.
I was gonna say, it kind of goes with the same motto that if your intent, like the way you go into something, if you go into it thinking, oh my gosh, this is gonna go so bad, and then in your brain you start thinking like it's gonna go this way, they're gonna say this, and then this is gonna happen, and then you worry about it, and then the event or whatever happens, and you're like, it did not go how I had plotted or planned at all. And oftentimes you're kind of surprised. You're like, wait, they did not take that as badly as a little would have, or whatever the scenario is. It can go a lot better. But if you're not breathing that sort of positivity or making those choices for your own life, you're probably not going to be putting that out for other people to receive. And if the other people aren't receiving it from you, you're probably not going to receive it back.
Right.
That makes, I guess, that kind of...
It goes back to like my open palm theory that I had, like, I don't know, a few years back, where it was like,
I know you are?
No. What's funny is before I ever even came up with that idea, it was like, I remember it was actually after a breakup, and I was like, I just want to let my life just flow like water. So like, what's meant for me is going to flow in, what's not is going to flow right out. Like, I'm not going to hold on so tightly to things that, like, especially concepts or expectations of what I thought, because I realized, like, none of it matters. Like you said, you can create different scenarios in your head of how you think something's going to pan out, play out, talk out, all of these things. And we oftentimes give ourselves freaking anxiety, honestly.
It never goes the way.
It rarely ever does it go how you think it's going to. So, like, stop doing that. You're literally tormenting yourself mentally, instead of just kind of, like, sitting back for a second, taking a deep breath and analyzing, like, again, like, but how do I want to respond? What is it that I want to do? How do I want to approach this? And how can I handle and maintain myself?
While sticking to your moral compass.
But I was just
being true to yourself.
The way of it, and then the truth of, but then making sure that no matter whatever it is, as long as you're rooted in truth, you can't really go wrong, because you're not going to be malicious. Like, you're just speaking truth. You're living out truth. And when you are speaking or living out truth, like, that's the way that you're going to live the best and most fulfilling life possible. Like, and going to your creator, obviously, if you're aligning yourself there, like, you can't really go wrong. Like,
well said today for our sermon. Just kidding.
Who knew I was gonna be a preacher? Praise the Lord. Just kidding. No, I know that I have a boatload of things that I have done wrong, which is why I feel so convicted, I guess, to share the things that I do. I was actually talking to my therapist about this, and I was giggling, because so many people are so miserable right now, like, because they live in this, like, false reality that they have created, and this hype of what they think that they're supposed to be doing, especially when it comes to social media. And we see it because there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, YouTube, and yes, I get it, we have these platforms as well. But I know darn well, you and I both, neither one of us do this with some sort of a set expectation of how it is we're supposed to be doing this, how we show up. Like, we don't have...
Well, what we created was what we wanted to create. Like, walk it when, you know, work.
We created what was us displaying our life and all of the reality of it, literally. Like, from rocking sandals with socks, you know, in the wintertime while we go walk properties, like...
Or when you forget your boots to go walk the property, or to go hunting and have to hunt in slippers.
Because I am, like, sometimes scatterbrained. Like, those are the things that we were not shying away from, of just displaying who it is truly in our own human nature, which is honestly, like, I mess up all the freaking time. But am I going to
allow myself... We had no idea what people are going to react to us as.
No.
Take it or leave it, baby.
I mean, we get told regularly, nobody listens to you guys. Okay, well, like
Nobody
we said last
says
week.
that except for one person. Quit saying that. Do you know how many times do we get, my gosh, we love your Wednesday
I know, that's my
videos."
point. Like, we have people that will say, like, nobody listens to you guys. Well, we don't care because we know that that's not true. That's the voice and the opinion of one person or a few people, that's what their opinion is. Rock solid, but, like, you just called yourself a nobody because you yourself already listen. Like, so sorry about your luck. Like, you're not dissing on me at all. Like, because I'm still gonna be me and do me because I like who I am. Like,
well, that's because you're comfortable in the truths that you have in your life, and
I've always been that way. Like, I was talking to my mom, like, even growing up with 3 sisters and being raised by, like, the same parents, it's wild to see how different all of us girls are. And I am one of them that, like...
Yeah, no fucking shit. Have you met me and my sisters?
Yes, I have. And
we're all kinds of shapes and sizes.
And your lives reflect vastly different things, like, that you guys have all chosen for yourselves, yet you grew up the same way. And it's like, again, going back to, like, I know you were a kid just like I was a kid that kind of just was one to beat to your own drum, and you weren't seeking the approval necessarily of anybody else. You were just trying to, like, go about life, survive, and, like, have fun while you were doing it.
I did a lot of observing as a kid.
Same.
A lot of observing. I was a very quiet kid for a long time, and it wasn't, there was a lot going on up there.
I wasn't really quiet, but I definitely did a lot of observing, especially being the middle child for, well, technically the youngest for many years, until then becoming another middle child. There was a lot of observing that I was like, I'm going to take note there. I'm going to take note there. And then that, like, kind of still took place then even into adulthood. But then I did get more of a voice, especially once I hit my mid-20s. And then also having kids of my own, I realized, like, well, somebody's got to speak up for the right thing here. Like, and that's where my voice kind of really came into play, was because I was not okay with letting other people make decisions for me that I did not agree with, that I did not align with. And that's also when I also became one of those people that I was like, no, wait a minute. Hey, what are we doing?
Hey, you.
Hey, you at the place. Yeah. But
chat.
There comes a point in life where you can't deny it. You gotta roll with it. You gotta decide. What are you doing with your life?
But you have to be able to live with your choice. That's the other part of it.
You do have to be able to live with yourself. You have to be
able to live with yourself for that choice that you're making.
Yep. And there's a lot of shitty choices
after you've made that choice and you're living with it, you can't be mad about it. You can't be mad at other people about it either.
I mean, you can get mad about some of the choices that you have made, but it is not okay to take it out on other people.
Right. That's where I was going with
You are not allowed to punish other people or blame other people for some of the poor, shitty choices that you have made in your life. And we've all done it. We're all going to do it. You're not going to get it right always, but freaking learn from it. Like, do something positive and good and constructive with your mistakes. Like, that's what will make you a better person. Like, that's the whole point of it. Like, don't be too afraid to go live your life. Think about what you're doing. And when you do mess up, give yourself some grace. We've talked about that before.
Brush your knees off. That song.
Brush your knees off?
Give yourself some grace, brush your knees off, or something like that.
I don't know if I've heard that one. Can you sing it for me?
We should make it.
I don't know if I'm in the music
I'll find
industry.
the musicians for it. How about that? We could do that part.
Do I have to write the lyrics? Because you're going to have to give me some ideas of what this is supposed to sound like.
Yeah, you write the description.
Okay, fine, man.
Stephanie's job. Descriptions.
I got to be the writer of all of the things. Let me tell you, sometimes it's hard to come up with all these things. But
you want me to write it? I'll do it.
No.
Okay.
No.
The alternative, the truth of the matter to this one is Zella is not a writer. Zella's punctuation and grammar is horrific. Maybe it's Canadian.
I mean,
Is that it?
I'm gonna have to do some research on that and find the statistics.
I don't know.
Are Canadians bad at writing?
If anybody knows, are we
Grammatically
grammatically incorrect?
But
I
are
don't
you
know.
tech savvy? Heck yes.
I can do a lot of the other things. That'll make it work.
Yeah, which is good and useful in its own way.
Okay, so this week we were talking about following your moral compass, knowing it's right and wrong. Do it even if it's a hard thing. Challenge yourself so you have the growth in life.
And you are going to
know
reap
all
the
these
benefits of that. I promise
You might not see it
will.
right away though.
No.
It might be hard for a long time.
It's just like working out. You can't go work out for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even 4 weeks and expect to see results right away.
What?
That shit takes time.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Damn it.
You might see a little, but even at the end, like, I guarantee you, you're going to build muscle before you're burning fat. Take it from a chubby girl, an old chubby girl. It's a thing.
Okay.
Give yourself some time. Keep showing up. Stay consistent. I've been at it for 2 years now, showing up for myself. It takes a while.
Takes a long time.
And then it becomes muscle memory.
Yeah, but if you plan on living till you're 90 and you're only in your 30s, like, you're not even halfway there, baby. If you can figure out how to show up for yourself in your 30s, I think you're doing pretty good. Maybe we'll avoid the midlife crisis.
I mean, I intended only living till 75, and then I realized that's really young, so I gotta get my shit going. Is kind of what
I'm going to
determined.
torture people for at least 100 years.
You would. I'd rather haunt them in my dead days and be a ghost and fuck with people that way.
I don't know that I would want to be a ghost. I hate scary movies. I hate scaring people. Like, I wouldn't want to do that. That'd be work, too. You'd have to hide behind shit.
Oh, I know. I would
And
have
wait.
so much fun with that. Oh, you have. Oh, yeah.
No, thank you.
So watch your P's and Q's. You never know. If you're mean to me, I'm coming back for you.
Coming after you.
All the fun things.
All the fun things. All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Chat with you next week.
Yup.
Cold Truth. All right.
Check in next
Stay
week
true.
on Thursday.
Stay
Stay truth.
true to your moral compass.
Do it.
Do it.
Bye.